The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, no TV today. We are absolutely loaded. Great to have you on a Friday. I love these days where I'm just doing radio. So much fun for me. So tonight, Golden State probably wraps up the NBA season. And they beat Cleveland. And I know what some of you are going to be saying. Man, it's boring. It's boring. Same team, boring. Folks, parity's never been a thing in the NBA. It's never been a thing. From 1999 to 2014, here's who represented the Western Conference in the finals. Spurs, Lakers, 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 Spurs, Lakers, Spurs, Mavericks, Spurs, Lakers, 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 Mavericks, Thunder, Spurs, Spurs. You know what's followed that? Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. What are you getting all worked up about? For the record in horse racing, Bob Baffert has a horse this weekend going for a Triple Crown. When's the last time that happened? Bob Baffert had a horse in another weekend going for a Triple Crown. Roger Federer, Serena Williams, dominance 15 years. Real Madrid won 3 straight European championships. Roger Penske's team just won their 7th Indy 500. 17th. Sports parody's a myth. Parody in life's a myth. O has been a rich, O has been a poor. And the rich are gaining. Well, freaking out about this. For the record, here's every AFC starting Super Bowl quarterback since 2001. Brady, Rich Gannon, Brady, Big Ben, Peyton, Brady, Big Ben, Peyton, Big Ben, Brady, Flacco, Peyton, Brady, Peyton, Brady. 15 to 17 years. Ben, Brady, Peyton. College football. This will be Alabama's best team ever. They're going to win it again. 6 titles, 10 years. High school. Go to any city of note in America. There's a dominant high school basketball powerhouse and a dominant high school football powerhouse. I live in Southern California. It's the same 4 really good high school football teams every year. In Northern California, it's the same 2. In Nevada, Bishop Gorman, it's the same 1. Duke in Kentucky, Duke just landed the top 3 high school basketball recruits. Well, you're talking about parity. No parity in sports. It's a myth. There's no parity in life. And there's a reason for it. Dominance is unavoidable because so few people are great at anything. In SEC football, it's Nick Saban and a bunch of gym teachers. I have no problem with how Golden State formed this dynasty. Klay Thompson was an 11th pick. Steph was a 7th pick. Draymond was 2nd round. They won a title without Kevin Durant. The cake was formed. He's just the icing. By the way, Oklahoma City, just like a lot of businesses in America, could have been the next dynasty, but they screwed it up. They had James Harden. They had Kevin Durant. They had Westbrook. All young kids. They chose the wrong one. They let Harden go and Kevin Durant left. They embraced the wrong guy. That's because Sam Presti's an overrated general manager. Sam Presti could have all sorts of rings. He made a decision to choose Westbrook and his tunnel vision, who couldn't shoot 6 years ago. Harden was a better shooter 5-6 years ago. And the league was becoming a shooter's league, and they let Harden go. Daryl Morey, smarter than Sam Presti, MIT grad, went and got Harden. They didn't want Westbrook. I got no problem whatsoever Kevin Durant going to Golden State. He's the icing. The cake was formed. They won 73 games without him. They won a title without him. And the other reason I have no problem with what I'm seeing right now, we're all freaking out about this. Don't kid yourself. The needle moves and changes all the time in the NBA. Since 2000, we've had 2 separate Laker dynasties, a Spurs dynasty, a LeBron mini dynasty in Miami, and now a Warriors dynasty. That's 4 dynasties in 18 years. That's 4 separate dynasties. How can you already be bored and fearful? I'm not even counting the big 3 in Boston, and they were really, really good. They just won 1 title. Got to win at least 2 and get to 4 straight finals if you want to be called a dynasty. But in 18 years, we've already had 4. The NBA power structure shifts all the time, certainly more than the AFC's doing right now. And the other thing is, Golden State looked like they were going to lose this year. We're already seeing cracks. We're already seeing fatigue. Curry's getting hurt more. They struggled with apathy, lost by 40 a couple times in the regular season, 30 in the regular season, 20 multiple times. Houston went 7, and it looked like down 3-2, Chris Paul got hurt. They would have lost the series. This thing's not going to last forever. Let me ask you a question. Name one NBA dynasty that's ever lasted longer than we thought. Because maintaining great, to me, is just as hard or harder than attaining great. Chris Bosh was on the show yesterday. He said after we won the second one and we were headed for the third, and that's what the Warriors will be doing next year, he said it started to emotionally be really, really hard.
No. Right after, no. I think you sense the fatigue when you come in the next season. Emotionally, that Spurs series that we had to win that championship was emotionally draining for everybody, for family, fans.
For fans.
You know what I mean? It was just like there was a certain sense of relief when it was over because it was such a tense moment. You know, anybody that's been to the finals, that turnaround is quick.
Yeah, Bosh yesterday, he said, after we won the second one and we started heading into the third season, that turnaround is quick. The expectations are you win or you fail. That's why I predicted Boston's going to win the championship next year. You can see fatigue already setting in. You saw it in the regular season. They got bored. You saw Houston had them in real trouble. Houston's going to probably get better. They could add you-know-who. So this life has no parity. The business community, Silicon Valley, sports, there's no parity. Beverly Hills was the nicest community in Los Angeles 20 years ago. It's still where all the rich people live. No parity. It's a myth. Enjoy it while it lasts. Dynasties are fun. It's a collection of great players. I've lived through like 10 NBA dynasties. I loved all of them. I love this one. I love the Showtime Lakers. I love the MJ Bulls. I like the Bird and McHale teams. I like the Miami D-Wade LeBron teams. I liked all of them. Kobe Shaq dynasty. I wish that would have lasted longer. I was having fun. I wanted 4 and 5 and 6. Let me shift gears to this. Boy, LeBron held a press conference yesterday, and he was in a great mood, and he was chatty, and the media picked up on it. He talked about a bunch of stuff, and I could play a bunch of it, but he had people laughing. He talked about Kevin Durant, made jokes about the Trailblazers, made jokes about himself. He was talking about how everybody sees him as a video game piece.
People who really don't know the game don't really know what I'm talking about. They just think that you just go out and like, oh, LeBron, you're bigger and faster and stronger than everybody. You should drive every single time, and you should dunk every single play, and you should never get tired. Never. Like it's a video game, and you went on the options, and you turned down fatigue all the way to 0 and injuries all the way down to 0.
You know what LeBron is? He's relieved. He's relieved. There's no pressure. He sounds reflective. He's proud of the work he's done. He's maximized his opportunities. He got Akron and Cleveland a championship. He got his Cavs to 4 straight finals. He gave it his all, and better days ahead. That press conference yesterday, go look it up online, YouTube it. All the articles this morning, God, he was so fun. Listen, I'm not comparing myself to LeBron, but I left ESPN after 10 years. There was no pressure. I gave it everything I had. I thought I kind of overachieved. They wanted me. New company wanted me. It was a great feeling. I remember telling my wife, God, this is what every American dreams about, right? 2 companies, big money, making offers. Both seem to like you. You get to choose. LeBron's happy now. He's a happy guy now. There's no anger. He's accepted his fate. He sounded relieved yesterday. That's what I picked up on. He's a great player. He's a great teammate. He can't be Golden State, obviously. They have far better players. There's no reason to lose sleep over this. This is LeBron yesterday at that press conference joking about everything. Listen, this finals has proven three things. And this is why I think LeBron's able to kind of laugh about it now. The finals have proven three things. His teammates are not up to the challenge. A.Smith didn't know the score. His coach, Ty Lue, whiffed on a timeout. He's not up to the challenge. And Golden State's a really, really, really great basketball team, and they're going to go down as an all-time dynasty. There's no reason to lose sleep. Listen, man, when you listen to LeBron yesterday, he maximized everything he could. He got everything out of it he could. He never had, in his opinion, and in the opinion of many, an elite coach. He didn't have Brad Stevens. He didn't have Popovich. He didn't have Phil Jackson. He didn't have Quinn Snyder. Many would say he doesn't have Dwayne Casey. Okay? He doesn't have elite teammates. And he's losing to a dynasty. LeBron, on the eve of being swept, was in a great mood yesterday. 8 straight finals, all-time record, best player in the world. Philly wants him, Lakers want him, Rockets want him, Spurs want him. I think LeBron's let go of the GOAT conversation. He's not burdened by it. He's in an incredible place. You don't hold that press conference yesterday and joke around for 15, 20 minutes like he did. I could play bites for the rest of the show. I mean, that press conference to me was, I'm great. I'm in a really good spot. I'm okay with where I'm at. You don't think I'm MJ? I'm good. 8 straight finals. I'm going to be statistically the greatest player of all time. And here's what's funny, is that for all the people that yell, you're never going to beat Jordan, in a way, I think it will have the biggest effect on where he goes next. And I want you to think about that for a second. If you are a believer, and if you have ever tweeted, said, called a show, thought, enjoyed somebody saying, LeBron will never be Jordan. If that is true, and I have no interest arguing with you, if that is true, then LeBron's already made his decision on where he's playing next. That around the corner, and breaking news, interesting news, on the team I picked to win it all next year, the Celtics. Okay. Welcome back. Good to have you in on a Friday. It's radio only, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio. Put one more destination on your list this summer, GNC. Get the highest quality supplements. GNC has price match guarantees. Live well with GNC. See an associate or gnc.com for details. So I was just looking at the Vegas odds this morning, and there is a sense among players. Kevin Love said this about LeBron's future. And Kevin Love yesterday was brutally honest about what's happening to the league, and he was sort of defending players who go to these super teams. Here's Kevin Love yesterday.
I think if you have a chance to win in this league, you have to go for it. I mean, I can remember when I had missed the playoffs 6 straight years, and I, kind of decided that I wanted to win, and ended up, being in a bunch of trade scenarios, and ended up here and winning in 2016. But and teamed up with LeBron and Kyrie, and all those guys that won on the 2016 team. That Rockets team is, like they always say, they're built to try and beat them, and they went to seven games in the Western Conference Finals. So I think you'll see a lot of that around the league, and that's always going to be the talk, because somebody has to try and dethrone these guys and work their way to that.
So Kevin Love kind of believes, Houston's got 2 players. He would go to Houston. And let me just throw this out there, because my guess this morning is the Lakers are going to win this. And I do think Philadelphia long-term could be the best move. Houston to win a championship short-term could be the best move. And the Lakers for your brand and your lifestyle is the best move. They've all got strengths. But just for a second, think about this as you drive around the country. Fans and media are telling you You'll never be Michael Jordan. You're doing it. I'm not, but you are. And that's okay. That's what's fun about sports arguments. So if fans are telling you, doesn't matter what you do from this side, from this point forward, it just doesn't matter. Michael's 6 for 6 in finals, even though you're going to blow Michael away in every statistical category, including finals appearances, you're never, ever, ever going to be able to wipe out the column we care about. The column we care about is Michael's 6-0, you are 3-6. You can't wipe out those 6 finals losses. So if that column is the one that the fans in the media seem to care most about, that 6 losses in the finals column, if I'm LeBron, I go fill other columns. My lifestyle column, my happiness, my brand, my legacy, my ownership opportunities. Fans are telling you the only column that matters is the finals losses. Well, you can't erase that big 6 in finals losses or that big 6 Michael wins. And even though there's proof that you're going to destroy him in every statistical category, there's nothing Michael will beat you in except that one column, well, then worry about other columns. This goes back to something I have said for years and years. When it comes to music, entertainment, and sports, there are 3 stages. We saw this with Michael Jordan. There's the show-off stage. I'm Michael. I can score 63 points. Okay, we lost to the Celtics, but I scored 63 points. I'm better than Larry Bird. Then there's the Phil Jackson sits down with Michael and says, what do you want to be? 60-point-a-game guy or titles? And then Michael Jordan moves into title stage. I got to win some Grammys. I got to win an Oscar here. That's why Leonardo DiCaprio did The Revenant. He was in his show-off stage. I'm talented. But then he became just a guy without an Oscar. And so he found a movie that he could win an Oscar. He got mauled by a bear and didn't talk. And then Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, Timberlake, Jamie Foxx, LeBron, they move into the mogul stage. Where winning an Oscar, a Grammy, and a title is not everything. Michael Jordan went to the Wizards. He was still really good. It was not about winning titles anymore. He had stacks of money. He had the titles. He had recognition. Michael had moved into the mogul stage. The guy you call the GOAT did not go in his last trip to win titles. He went so he could be an owner with Abe Pollin. He wanted to own the team. That's why he went there. We know if it's about winning, you go to Houston short term. Couple of great years. We know long term, Simmons and Embiid are stars. Philadelphia is a really good long term play. But business, brand, there's no Magic Johnson in Philly. It's a winter league. Not making a lot of movies in Philly. Netflix is not based in Philly. It's real obvious. Yes, if you go to Houston with a super team, you may win a title, and maybe you don't and have to live in that tunnel of hate. Los Angeles is a different column. We've seen Michael Jordan do this. He didn't choose Washington for any other reason than he had moved into the mogul stage. LeBron wants to be the first billionaire athlete. Ain't getting there in Houston, not getting there in Philly. Look what the Lakers did to Magic Johnson. If you think Magic Johnson would be Magic Johnson had he played in Charlotte, Philly, Orlando, why do you think Shaq went to the Lakers? Because Shaq's always had a keen eye on business. In fact, Shaq right now currently has the most endorsements of any American athlete. Shaq saw it. I don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. I want to be a big fish in a big pond. So for all of those fans out there in media saying you'll never be Michael Jordan, LeBron's a good listener. Listen to him. Don't worry about that. You're in the 3rd stage anyway. You were in your show-off stage first 7 years in Cleveland, and then you wanted to win titles to validate and recognize you as an all-time great. You went to Miami. Now you've moved into the mogul stage. Go to the Lakers. I think it's obvious. Like, again, Houston short term could get you a title. Philly long term could get you 2. You've already got 3, and you can't erase your 6 losses. Go be a billionaire in a winter league. Wake up in 74 degrees in a town that has Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Pacific Palisades, a thriving economy. It's a tech center. It seems so obvious to me. Veteran newsman John Goulet.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So, Colin, when the Celtics traded for Kyrie Irving, I think they had kind of assumed that him and Gordon Hayward together with their young players would be their core moving forward.
Right.
And as you have said, you think they're going to be the team to upset the Warriors next season in the finals.
Right.
Hold on that. This year didn't go to plan. Obviously, Hayward and then Kyrie Irving got hurt. But now the future might be in doubt. This is what Yahoo Sports senior writer Chris Mannix, who also covers the Celtics, said about Kyrie's future on his podcast.
I think they're scared and should be scared to some degree of Kyrie walking in 2019. I know he had a great year, but there are people in Cleveland that will tell you that the Knicks should be considered a real threat for Kyrie Irving because Kyrie had talked about it, playing with the Knicks with some players in that Cleveland locker from what I was told.
Now, we know Kyrie's a little weird. We know his...
No, listen, there's 2 things. We know he's flaky, and we know he has injury history.
Do you think he might end up leaving the Celtics?
I don't think the Celtics...
He's a free agent after next season.
Listen, first of all, Boston has a history. NBA players leave Boston all the time.
Yeah.
Like a lot of athletes don't feel loved in Boston, right? Bobby Orr does. But a lot of people leave Boston, and, Brady feels love. Bobby Orr feels love. They don't do real well. I mean, they've gone a long time without, getting a lot of free agents in the NBA. I would just say this. And I like Boston to win next year because I think, you're as Chris Bosh said yesterday on our show, I think after you win back-to-back championships, that third one is a lot harder. I mean, can you imagine the Warriors' regular season next year? They lost by 40 multiple times this year. But think about Boston right now. If I said, what is the big 5 going forward? Number 1 is Brad Stevens, because Jason Tatum's not as good as he is without Brad Stevens.
No.
So Brad Stevens is number 1. Number 2 is Jason Tatum. Number 3 is, now again, consider Kyrie's injury history. I think number 3 is either Kyrie or Jaylen Brown. But I mean, we're down to 3. I believe the big 5 for Boston, if I put them in order today, it would be Brad Stevens 1, Jason Tatum 2, and then we can argue over Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, and Gordon Hayward. And what that means is, after you get past Stevens and Jason Tatum, I think you could get real assets for Kyrie Irving at this point.
You could. I'm thinking back to the list he gave of teams he wanted to leave Cleveland for. I don't think the Celtics were originally on it.
They were not.
So he might not feel like that's the best spot for him long term.
This is funny. Professional athletes, I want everybody listening to just think of yourself. Wouldn't you want a choice where to live? He never mentioned Boston as a place he wanted to. He didn't. He grew up in New Jersey. He likes New York. He likes L.A. We've seen him.
He already has a title. He doesn't have to I should stay with the Celtics to win a championship. He won one, and he hit the big shot to win it. So he could just say, I just want to go be a mogul and be in New York. I don't really care about winning another title.
So this is one of these things, though, if you start looking at the big 5, like we know in Philadelphia, the big 2 is Ben and Joel Embiid.
Sure.
And then maybe it's Brett Brown, the coach. I don't know. Well, now Colangelo's out, probably is. But everybody's got like 4 to 5 people, and as you go down the list, they get more tradable. They ain't moving Brad Stevens, and they're not moving Jason Tatum. I think after that, Hayward, Brown, and Kyrie, if you could get stuff back like a top draft pick and a good player, you go for it.
So speaking of potential free agents, for all the people coming up with Kevin Durant conspiracies about him leaving the Warriors, they're going to have to wait another year. He confirmed yesterday, quote, "I'm planning on staying with the Warriors and we'll figure the rest out." He said the only thing to figure out really left is the small details about the contract. Remember, he took a pay cut this year to accommodate them signing other people. How long, though, do you think he stays with the Warriors? Do you think it's about getting a third title with them, and then maybe he would look at leaving?
I think he'll stay next year for sure, and I think the Warriors will be in the finals against Boston.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be, I think there's a certain physical and emotional fatigue, so I'm going to take Boston in that one. And I could be wrong, but I think that looks like to me. I don't think Philadelphia is quite ready. I mean, Philadelphia is not ready to take over late situational games against the Celtics. And the Celtics beat them without Kyrie and Hayward, and they're getting both. And I don't think LeBron's going to Philadelphia. But I think after next year, Kevin, who's a little bit of a wanderer and a dreamer, will sit down and really think about it. But remember, at that point, LeBron could be in Los Angeles. So where are you going to go? Maybe he goes to New York. But again, where do you go?
I mean, if let's say tonight he has another big game and wins Finals MVP. Next year, they're the favorite to win the title. He'd be the favorite to be Finals MVP again. I could certainly see if he had 3 straight titles and Finals MVPs, he's got nothing left to do. I think you brought up a good point. Maybe it's New York. Maybe he goes, hey, LeBron went to this coast. I'm going to go to the other one. I'm going to revive the Knicks, which no one has been able to do. And speaking of Durant, finally, in the post-game press conference after Game 3 of the Finals, Kevin Durant got an unwelcomed visitor. Cavs center Kendrick Perkins walked by the press conference as Durant was talking and flipped him the old double birds. Durant saw it. He kind of mouthed some words that I should not say on the radio back at Perkins. So now in 3 games, Perkins has seemingly pissed off Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. Now, him and Durant were teammates with the Thunder, so maybe he was kind of joking, but I doubt it, knowing Perkins. What is your reaction to Perk seeming to just be with the Cavs to instigate things?
Well, I mean, Perkins doesn't have much skill.
Well, he didn't play at all last year, and he only played 1 game this year. The Cavs basically just signed him to be on the playoff roster to be in the locker room. It kind of feels like this is what they signed him to do. I mean, they only go 8 deep anyway, so the 12th guy's never going to see minutes.
I can't believe we're spending any time talking about Kendrick Perkins. He's the least skilled guy in the league.
Can you imagine, like, you're sitting there talking to a microphone, and somebody walked in the studio and just flipped you double birds and kept walking?
I've been flipped off in a car before.
Well, yeah, who hasn't?
You have too?
Yeah, I'm an aggressive driver. I get flipped off somewhat regularly.
Okay. So you're our Kendrick Perkins.
Yeah.
Veteran newsman John Goulet.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
So much has been made of who is more valuable, Kevin Durant or Steph. Like, that's a real thing, right? Kevin Durant, Steph, who's more valuable? It's so funny to me. I don't know if you've heard, but Scottie Pippen apparently disappeared. He's the Bermuda Triangle of players. You guys all get that all these dynasties are tandems. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, it's a tandem. Michael Jordan and Pippen won titles. Not Michael Jordan without Pippen. Shaq and Kobe. Bird and McHale. LeBron and D. Wade. Magic and Kareem. Duncan and Tony Parker. Russell and Cousy. Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. Like, it's just amazing to me. Do you guys realize Scottie Pippen was part of all Michael's championships and is a top 50 player of all time? Remember, Golden State only won without Kevin Durant due to 2 major injuries. Kevin Love, who was better then than now, and Kyrie Irving got hurt. Or LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving would have won the series. It went 6, and the second best player for the Cavs was Matthew Dellavedova. So, the dynasty, and by the way, Steph deserves a lot of credit for winning, even in 6. But this KD-Steph thing, it's a dynasty. They've won 2 together easily. They're probably going to win 3 together easily. That's a dynasty. But whenever we're talking about, well, whose is it? Well, Steph tends to be statistically more valuable to the team. Kevin Durant, because he's 7 feet tall, is harder to stop. But it's almost as if Scottie Pippen, of all the great players, disappeared into the ether. Those aren't Michael Jordan's titles. Those are Michael and Scottie's titles. Kobe lost Shaq. He was completely irrelevant until he got Pau Gasol a couple years later. I mean, even if you look at the teams that didn't win, but that were just really, really good, Stockton and Malone were really, really good. Didn't win a title, but it was a tandem. Sean Kemp, Gary Payton. Didn't win a title, but were really good. Mourning and Hardaway. Penny and Shaq. Westbrook and Durant. Barkley and Kevin Johnson. Like, in all these conversations, it's as if Scottie Pippen did not exist. This isn't the Kevin Durant Warriors. It's not the Steph's Warriors. You take Steph off this team, I don't think Kevin Durant's going to be part of a dynasty. Doesn't mean he couldn't win a title in Golden State if it was Kevin Durant, Clay, and Draymond. He doesn't form a dynasty. And Steph isn't going to win titles. That's why he recruited Kevin Durant, because he knew, damn, we needed Kyrie and Kevin Love to get hurt. And then, oh, by the way, the next year, when Kyrie was healthy, they beat us. So the Warriors were not a dynasty before Kevin Durant got there. They had won a title. So I don't buy one is uber important and the other is significantly less important. They're all tandems. You have to go back to like the Pistons. And we've got like one, and they weren't a dynasty. They just had a one-off. The Dallas Mavericks with Dirk. They weren't a dynasty. But when you start talking dynastic clubs, they're all tandems. All of them are tandems. Michael's 1-9 in the playoffs before Scottie Pippen. They're all tandems. What about the Mavericks? What about the Sonics? What about the Pistons? They weren't dynasties. They're not all-time great teams. If you list the best NBA teams last 20 years, that Dirk Nowitzki Mavericks team, I'm not even sure they make the list. They don't make the top 10. I doubt they make the top 15. Sonics don't. Pistons don't. Those are considered outliers. Those are one-offs. Lightning in a bottle. Everything went right. Injuries, emotional breaks, coaching. Coming up next, Terrell Owens. I confronted him. He proved we were right. He's just too damn needy. And he did it again yesterday. Yeah, the Michael Jordan argument's always been so reductive. People forget this. Michael Jordan won a national title in college as a freshman playing with an all-time great college player, James Worthy. And then Michael, when James Worthy left, Michael couldn't get to a Final Four his final 2 years in college. I mean, so then he went to the NBA. He's 1-9 without Pippen. Like this idea that Michael is 6-0 in the finals. No, Michael and Pippen and Phil Jackson were 6-0 in the finals. At the college level, once he lost his Scottie Pippen in college, James Worthy, Michael didn't win titles. He didn't win titles. I think his last year he got to the Sweet 16. Couldn't even get to the Elite 8 with Dean Smith and Sam Perkins. Like this idea that it's like Michael's got 6 and LeBron alone is 3-6. One of the reasons LeBron is 3-6 is it does feel like sometimes it's LeBron and LeBron alone. But God, the greatest player of all time couldn't even win in college without having a Pippen. Say goodbye to the grocery store. Hello to HelloFresh. Healthy ingredients, easy to follow recipes, shipped to your door. Limited time, $30 off your first box when you go to HelloFresh.com/Colin. Free shipping too. So I had Terrell Owens on the show, and I've always said he's a Hall of Fame guy, but he's too needy for me. He's just too. And by the way, there's when it comes to men and fruit, I don't do needy. This is why I gave up on oranges. I no longer buy oranges, and I no longer eat oranges. I'll have orange juice, but I won't do oranges. Now, apples, I grab and bite an apple. Love apples. Grapes, I grab and eat a grape. That's what I want my relationship to be with my fruit. I don't like oranges. You got to peel it. And then there's pits. And then there's this stringy thing. And then my hands are a hazmat spill. I mean, it's a mess. I got to wash them. They're all sticky. I'm not into that kind of relationship. Good God. A grapefruit, I got a knife to cut it in half. Then I need a special spoon to figure out the sections. It's just too much work. So it's the same thing. I get rid of needy things. I don't do oranges anymore, and I don't, I'll do orange juice. I'll do grapefruit juice. I don't buy them at the store. They're too needy. I like my relationship with fruit to be grab and bite and eat. That's the same way with my athletes. I'm into Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson. I like my wide receivers to be Julio Jones. I'm not into Odell Beckham. I'm not into needy men. I don't have friends that are needy or they're no longer friends. T.O.'s needy. He came on my show this week, and I addressed this and listened to his answer. I see a lot of problems with pro athletes. I don't have any of that crap with him. Little needy sometimes.
You've been very critical.
But
critical.
Why am I critical?
Sometimes without a lot of facts.
I think there were concerns about you in locker rooms at times being needy. That you wanted to be heard constantly, and I think
No, I never wanted to be heard constantly. I was very, very competitive. My passion and my love for the game often got misconstrued as such.
Okay, now think about that. Here's the story. Terrell Owens won't attend the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Is that your passion? No, it's your needy. Tom Brady won't campaign for years to be in the Hall of Fame and then skip the ceremony. Terrell Owens got caught in a lie. Nobody's misconstruing your passion. People saw my Is passion skipping the Hall of Fame ceremony? Because that's the story today. True self-confidence is never needy. I like T.O. He's a nice kid, but he's a glass house. He's totally fragile. That's why he cries at a drop of a hat. It's the Dennis Rodman thing. My outer scoreboard is I'm the man. Inner scoreboard, all full of self-doubt. So this is, and again, I like Odell Beckham as a player, but peeing in the end zone nets, grow up. Look at me. And then when anybody criticizes T.O. or Odell Beckham, I'm a victim. Hey, I am being unfair. There's a big difference between Tom Brady in the heat of a game barking at a coach, Bill O'Brien, that lasts a second and a half to two, and then moving on, than campaigning for years for the Hall of Fame. It gets offered, you get it, you get the gold jacket, and now I'm going to skip the ceremony. That's why I confronted him, Terrell Owens, when he was on the show. And I do appreciate him stopping by, and I do appreciate him answering it. But his answer was, play the whole answer again. When I said, dude, you're high maintenance. Sit-ups in the driveway in Philadelphia. Here was his response. I see a lot of problems with pro athletes. I don't have any of that crap with him. Little needy sometimes.
You've been very critical.
But
critical.
Why am I critical?
Sometimes without a lot of facts.
I think there were concerns about you in locker rooms at times being needy. That you wanted to be heard constantly, and I think
No, I never wanted to be heard constantly. I was very, very competitive. My passion and my love for the game often got misconstrued as such. To be the best, you have to be a little needy. You have to be a little selfish. Tom Brady can do those same things, and you guys look at him as a leader. Oh, that's great for the game. It's passion. I've seen him berate players and coaches. But if I or Odell Beckham Jr. do that, it's the polar opposite.
He's all over the board. Needy is different than leadership. Leadership is occasionally barking at people. Needy has nothing to do with barking at people. Needy is throw me the ball, look at me, campaign for the Hall of Fame, get it, and now I won't go to the ceremony. Everybody always falls into this. I've seen Peyton Manning yell at a teammate. Yeah, he yelled at the teammate. Hey, dude, know the snap count. Dude, you're supposed to be in the slot, in motion. That has nothing to do with T.O.'s history, Des Bryant's history, Odell Beckham's history. They're high maintenance. Des Bryant can't get through a team meeting without emotional baggage. That has nothing to do with a quarterback barking on the sideline a command to a coach. Car shopping's confusing. A lot of different terms. Dealer price, list price, invoice. True Car shows you what other people paid for the car you want, so you can recognize a good price. You could save up to $3,000 off MSRP. Mark Medina, Warriors reporter from the Mercury News, will be joining us next hour. Ric Bucher stops by today. Mike Missanelli, popular talk show host in Philly, 97.5 The Fanatic, on the Brian Colangelo mess and the legitimate chances of landing LeBron James. So the first hour's down on a Friday. We got 2 hours left. Don't go anywhere. In L.A., this is The Herd. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, no TV today. God, next week is wild. U.S. Open on FS1. The World Cup starting next week on FS1. It'll be the biggest 3 weeks in the history of our network, our young network. We're a 4-year-old network. By the way, our May was the most watched month. We've been here 19 straight months for us of growth. That is unheard of in cable television. So thank you for that. You know, I was thinking about this. A story came out yesterday. LeBron's going to talk to the Warriors, and people all freaked out. And it's interesting because fans have no problem with baseball players, NFL players, hockey players, MLS players going to powerhouses. I mean, how many times, oh my God, I can't wait to watch A-Rod play for the Yankees. I can't wait to watch blank play for the Red Sox. Even in college basketball, I can't wait to watch Duke. They landed the 1, 2, and 3 best recruits. I can't wait to watch Kentucky's class. We have no problem with dominance being dominant. Even in the NBA, Kevin Garnett to Boston was celebrated. Chris Paul to Houston was exciting and celebrated. Paul George and Carmelo to Westbrook was celebrated. LeBron to Golden State freaks you out. And you were also pissed on KD to Golden State. Why? Because that's respect. Okay, when you keep telling me James Harden and Russell Westbrook are the MVPs of this league, I roll my eyes. If it was announced tomorrow that Westbrook was going to Golden State, would you be angry? No. The first thing you'd say is, oh, he's going to screw that up. And that's a guy you gave MVP to? You were terrified when Kevin Durant went to Golden State. People were pissed. That tells you that Westbrook isn't in the same class as Kevin Durant. If James Harden went to the Warriors today, it was announced, people wouldn't freak out. They'd be like, oh, that's going to screw it up. Is Steph going to get the ball? You would not fear Harden going to Golden State. In fact, you'd say, oh, what a mess. You wouldn't fear Westbrook going to Golden State. Oh, God, that's going to be a mess. You didn't like Kevin Durant going there because of what's happening. That tells you Kevin Durant's a hell of a lot better player than James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I mean, Broussard came on yesterday when the LeBron Golden State thing came out, and he was apoplectic.
If LeBron James, the best player in the world and arguably the best player of all time, went to Golden State, those rings would mean nothing. Nothing. Does Gary Payton, an all-time great, does his ring in Miami, did that change his legacy? No.
No, it didn't.
Alonzo Mourning's, no.
Can't take it from him, though.
All rings are not created equal. Most people don't even remember that Gary Payton won a ring. We think of him in Seattle when he was really great, or even L.A. But this, no, this would not be a good look.
Listen, even Adam Silver didn't like Kevin Durant to Golden State. So when you keep trying to tell me that James Harden is more valuable than LeBron, I just laugh at it. We didn't freak out when James Harden went to Houston. We celebrated it. We didn't freak out when Paul George and Melo went to Westbrook. We celebrated it. The 3 moves in my life in the NBA that everybody didn't like was Shaq to the Lakers, LeBron to Miami, and Kevin Durant to Golden State. You didn't like that free agency. You didn't like that at all because you thought it was unfair. That's the ultimate respect. T.O. to the Eagles, people like that. I was excited for it. Randy Moss to New England, I was excited for it. Brett Favre to Minnesota, I couldn't wait to watch him play. Joe Montana to the Kansas City Chiefs, I was excited for that. When people get fearful, they get angry. And when they get angry, it's the ultimate respect. You got pissed when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. You wouldn't have been that mad if Westbrook would have gone to the Warriors. You'd have said, oh, that won't work. Guy's a ball hog, doesn't pass, impossible to play with. So Sam Presti, when he chose Westbrook over Harden and Westbrook over Kevin Durant, could have done a very simple test. Which one of these guys going to the Warriors would scare people? What are people in sports afraid of? Being dominated. That's what they're afraid of. People don't like to be dominated where there's an unfair advantage or disadvantage. That's why Kevin Durant to the Warriors, everybody freaked out. The commissioner commented on it. He wouldn't have done that if James Harden went to the Warriors or Russell Westbrook. We got two guys in this league that are better than everybody else, LeBron and Kevin Durant. There's a lot of guys I like. The Greek Freak's got talent. John Wall's talented. But we got two guys in this league. If they go to certain places, we freak out. We do not like it. By the way, the very latest from RJ Bell, pregame.com, this is this morning, LeBron's destination favorites. Rockets plus 150, Lakers second plus 275, and the 76ers third, Cavs fourth. So it's Rockets, Lakers, 76ers, and Cavs. Mike Missanelli, popular talk show host in Philly, 97.5 The Game. What is kind of the, when you're taking calls, Mike, from your audience, what is the kind of the feel? Is it optimism? Is it anxiety? What is the feeling LeBron and the Sixers?
First of all, I got to say that this is off to a bad start because I agree with your last soliloquy 100%, and I'm not used to this. So I'm used to contention here, but the feeling in Philly is right now confusion. With this Colangelo thing, threw this fan base for a loop, and this was on the heels of the Eagles White House thing, and the Colangelo thing finally comes down, and people are now. Listen, Colin, the Sixers, it was evident that they were weak and not prepared to win the Eastern Conference. Not good enough, and they needed impact.
Yeah.
And so the impact that everybody's thinking about is LeBron, and now you're giving me odds that are really bad. So, and this Colangelo thing did not help keep the front office smooth. Now it's in tatters, and people are wondering if they can ever improve this offseason.
But I agreed. I said this 2 days ago. I said, listen, I don't know what happened, but if it is his wife, that's still a bad look. That doesn't erase that his wife's a crazy person on the internet. And I said, you just got to move him out. I don't care about law firms. And I think the Sixers did the right thing because LeBron now is looking at everybody. And if you got dysfunction in the front office, LeBron's dealing with that crap in Cleveland. The last thing he wants is an owner he doesn't like, Dan Gilbert, into a GM he doesn't trust, Brian Colangelo. So I thought it was the right move, and I think Brian will get another job sometime in the NBA. Was it celebrated? What was the reaction? Did they want him out? Were they arguing for him? How did that play?
99.9% of the people didn't think he was going to survive. In fact, most of them thought when the story came down, just like a political figure who has had some kind of a taint for the good of the party, they convinced you to resign.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get, and I think that's a good move. I think Philadelphia cleaned the slate. Let me ask you this: we've heard about David
about this, but
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I lost it for a second. We've heard the name David Griffin being mentioned as a replacement, and he is close with LeBron James. Is he then the leader in the clubhouse?
I mean, that's the speculation that he should be, but yeah, LeBron James, I don't think is going to come here because of a general manager. I think LeBron James is going to find a team where he thinks he can win the best. And I think the Sixers, unfortunately, did not show that they were ready to win. I thought when they were chugging along there and they beat Miami, I didn't expect them to get taken out like they lost it. He saw the same thing that we all did. So he probably came to the conclusion, you know what, they're not quite ready to win. So it's going to take him a couple years with this team. So I'm going to have to eliminate that team. I'm not optimistic that he's going to land here, even though it's absolutely essential and necessary for the Sixers to take that next step up.
Well, first of all, I think Ben Simmons to me is amazing. Embiid's injuries scare me, but he's great. I do think this is something. If Markelle Fultz is a bust, that doesn't help because LeBron knows Simmons and Embiid are great. But he also knows we need a shooter on that wing because J.J. Redick's too expensive. If Fultz is a bust, or if Fultz is a 17-point-a-game three-point shooter, that could sway LeBron. What do we know about Markelle Fultz? Because nationally, it's a bunch of mystery. Is he hurt? Is he a bust? What's happening with him?
We know zero about him, and that's the thing. I mean, I saw him in the summer league when he was first drafted. It's evident that he's got skill, but when given an opportunity to step up in the playoffs, he just curled up. He gave him two chances to play against Miami. They were both disastrous. He found himself being really content being a cheerleader on the bench, which disturbed me. And meanwhile, he's watching Jason Tatum just dominate. So I don't know what he is, and the Sixer fans are afraid of that he is a bust. But it's more than just him, Colin. Ben Simmons and Embiid really have to improve games. A lot of holes in their games were exposed So, like, the whole thing has to be made over. And Philadelphia fans were not comfortable with the fact that Ben Simmons is out in Hollywood with Kendall Jenner when he should be in the gym trying to develop a jump shot. So it's a very confused 76er fan base right now.
Mike Missanelli, Philadelphia, 4-hour show, wildly popular, 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia. I want to segue into the Eagles. And, I've said, because I grew up in Seattle, and I remember a couple years ago telling some friends up there who were really football people, I said, listen, man, Alabama, they don't let their assistants talk. New England doesn't let their coordinators talk. I'm like, Seattle's getting chatty. They're going into politics. They're getting loud. I'm like, this kumbaya, Pete Carroll, players run the locker room. I'm like, that crap don't last in football. I've seen it 100 times. The Chicago Bears were great, and then they were doing videos, and then they were lousy. I look at Philadelphia, love their roster. O-line, great. D-line, fantastic. Quarterback Wentz, better than Andrew Luck, and I love Andrew Luck. Coach, better than I thought he would be. But good God, Mike, politics. Everybody in sports on Twitter thinks politics is great for sports, Mike. Politics is tough at work. It's tough at the Thanksgiving dinner table. I think it helped blow up the Seahawks. I think they got too political, and they got rid of Bennett, and they got rid of Richard Sherman. Are there some people in Philadelphia that are saying, can we talk more about football?
Yeah, but the White House issue was a national story, so we had a lot of reaction to it on the way it transpired, and I thought it was really strange that the owner did not step out front and say something about it. I thought he owed the fan base, who was very loyal to this team, especially last year, to come out and say something. They let Doug Peterson hang the other day, and he came out and tried to stonewall the whole thing by saying, I'm not going to talk about it. Well, I don't think you have that choice now not to talk about it. You guys made a decision that so only 8 people were going to go. Now, for that reason, the president canceled the trip. He has every right to do that because it would have embarrassed him for only 8 people to show. So I think that Peterson should have come out and said, listen, I wanted to go, which he said, but if we are a team, and it was evident that the majority of our players did not feel the same way, and I have to respect their wishes, and now it's about football. But he didn't say that. He got belligerent and said, I'm not talking about this anymore. It's over. It's history. And he wants to talk about football. But to dispose of the issue, you have to talk about the issue and give a declarative statement, I think, to your fan base.
Yeah.
Mike, maybe they don't feel that way. I got, a lot of people thought that the media was badgering Doug Peterson to come up with more answers, but that's their job to do so. I just think the Eagles didn't handle it the right way.
Yeah, well, I think, you know what, Mike, I think politics is hard. I think it's hard. And you go on, the internet and you go on Twitter, everybody's like, politics. Politics are hard everywhere. If I started talking politics off the air at Fox, we'd get into arguments. And I think it's easy in the NBA to be anti-Trump. Fine. And I do think the NFL owners should never be beholden to Trump. Move on. I wouldn't get into bed with that guy. I don't trust him. Too self-serving. But I think in this Philadelphia thing, what you're explaining to me is even this situation in the White House was disruptive to the Eagles coach and the media. So it was hard to deal with.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, if the coach is on the record saying, I was really looking forward to going, and in the same breath saying, we're a team here, well, if you were a team there and you're the head coach and you really wanted to go, is that a sign that they weren't really respecting your wishes? So, I mean, there are many different angles to this whole thing. I just think it could have been explained better. Jeffrey Lurie is the one who came out with a derogatory Trump remark about a month ago. Now, you can't just hide from that. Once the guy disinvites you to the White House, you have to make a statement saying we were not comfortable going, and that's the way he took it. We apologize for that. We didn't mean to disrespect the office, but we weren't comfortable. And end of story. And then your fan base knows where you are.
Yeah. Mike, good stuff. Have a great weekend, buddy.
All right, thanks, Colin. Good talking to you again.
Yeah, two things in that interview. Number one, Markelle Fultz. The people that I trust in the NBA have real concerns that he's an abject bust. And the fact that Mike Missanelli, the leading talk show host in Philadelphia, doesn't know exactly what's going on, that means they're hiding him. Nobody was hiding Jason Tatum. Nobody was hiding Kyle Kuzma. They're hiding this kid because he's a disaster right now. And if that is a bust, I'm LeBron James. I'm not going there. By the way, you can say what you want about the Lakers. Lonzo's not a bust. Kyle's not a bust. Randall's not a bust. Ingram's not a bust. Josh Hart. They haven't had a bust. Philadelphia's had a lot of busts. That Carter kid that was good for a year, then disappeared. Bust. Nerlens Noel, bust. Okafor, bust. Fultz, bust. We're talking about the process. Once you give something a catchy nickname, the process. Danny Ainge doesn't have a bust in his draft picks. He doesn't have a bust. Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka don't have a bust. Sixers have several busts. Nerlens Noel can't play. Okafor, bust. I think Fultz is an absolute bust. And that's why they're hiding him. You hide busts.
They occasionally he puts out a video of Fultz, but it's always just him dunking alone. It's never, like, no one questions that he can't dunk. Everyone questions that he forgot how to literally shoot.
Yes.
And all they do is put these videos up of him dunking.
Ask yourself, just think about how guys work. If you've got something, like let's say you got a great body as a guy, you'll wear tighter shirts to show off your body. Let's say you're really smart, you'll show off your intellect. Let's say you're funny, you'll be a social animal and glib and funny. Men show off their assets. I'm not going to speak for women, men do. Okay, Boston's not hiding Jason Tatum and releasing like Zapruder film on him. Philadelphia, in the city, they're like, yeah, we have no idea where Markelle Fultz is. We can't get video of him. You hide what you're embarrassed about. You wear a loose shirt if you got a gut. If you're dumb, you don't hang out with smart people to get humiliated. And if you've got a bust, you release video of him dunking because he can't shoot. That's the first thing I took away from that. The second thing I took away is, listen, the NBA is now making fun of Trump. They're like, we think you're ridiculous. The NFL, I don't know if I would do that, but the NFL's gone too far to be petrified of Trump. I think it's a happy medium. I respect the office, but the NFL right now, they're allowing Trump to create this mayhem. Don't get into bed with Trump. Trump's into Trump. Don't get into bed with Donald Trump. Coming up next, oh boy, sounded like such a great idea. It appears to have some cracks in it. That's coming up next. By the way, like most of you, I get up in the morning. First thing I check is see if my kids texted me. Then I'll see what the big story was overnight. And Anthony Bourdain took his own life in a hotel room in France. And Jesus, that's a gutting one. I literally woke my wife up, which I never do in the morning. I try to sneak out and be quiet so I don't wake her up. And we just loved him. And we'd gone and seen him speak before. I have a stepson who went to CIA Culinary Institute and wanted to be the next Anthony Bourdain. So depression's a real thing. It's not a stigma. Get help. Get help. Veteran newsman John Goulet.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
So as you know, the 76ers have parted ways with their GM Brian Colangelo after a Twitter burner scandal. According to Woj, though, there will be no issues finding a GM to replace him. Listen to what he said about that job on SportsCenter.
What I heard around the league today were a lot of very good general managers and a lot of very good jobs kind of looking at their contracts, hitting their agents, going, is there a way I could get out to get involved in that? Everybody wants this Sixers job.
Of course. Ben Simmons is LeBron light. It's a great job.
The only counter argument I would make is there is a lot of pressure because they were in the conference semifinals. They won a game against Celtics. There's a lot of pressure for them, especially if LeBron goes west. Hey, you need to get to the finals right away. That's not easy.
But I'll tell you this, though. Here's the one thing, John. How many really transformative players this league have? I mean, as great as Westbrook is, he's useless in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, to have a 20-year-old kid like Ben Simmons and you can tie yourself to him for a decade, I'm telling you right now, man, I got him top 10 player in the league. This kid next year is going to, let's say he improves 25%. He's going to be a 21.5 point a game, 13 assists, 11 rebound, elite defender, finisher at the rim. That job is great. I mean, as good as Phoenix has been rebuilding for 5 years, Devin Booker doesn't mean anything in a playoff game. He can't even get you there. I mean, Ben Simmons they don't make them. They don't make 6'10.5" point guards defensively, vision, he is. I would take that job outside of a Golden State or a Houston gig. That could be, to me, the most. I mean, the three best GM jobs are Golden State, Boston, Houston, and Philadelphia. Unless you're talking Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, land LeBron, then that's a great one.
And those other three aren't getting open anytime soon.
Right.
Those are taken for a while. According to The Athletic, one Cavs veteran player thinks that if they still had Kyrie Irving, they would be up 3-0 on the Warriors in the finals. Now, this player was anonymous, but if you kind of do the math, you can figure out at least who the candidates are. The veteran players on the team who played with Kyrie are J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, Kevin Love, LeBron, obviously, and Tristan Thompson. My money's on J.R. Smith, by the way.
Yeah.
You can try and decipher which one of them would have said that. Do you believe Kyrie had? I think 3-0 is ridiculous.
I think you'd have a win.
What's the series?
It's 2-1 Golden State. Here's the thing you have to remember. Because they don't have Kyrie, the biggest thing Golden State's fighting right now is apathy.
Yeah.
Okay, Golden State looks at that roster and thinks, hell. Steve Kerr knows his biggest dilemma right now is convincing his players tonight, hey, Cleveland could win.
Yeah.
So if they had Kyrie, Golden State would be much better defensively, would play with much more urgency, and would raise their game. I don't think Golden State played very well in the first game. I thought they played well in the second game. I didn't think they were great last game.
No, they turned it on in the second half.
I mean,
first half they weren't really going for it.
And by the way, the second game, I thought they were great in the first 8 minutes defensively. Then they had a big lull until the third quarter. So, no, I think Kyrie Irving could win you a game, but let's be honest about this. This Golden State team it's going to go down as an all-timer.
Plus, why is that getting out there? I mean, that's another thing. Why is someone saying that?
Because people are bored.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this stuff right now, can we get the season over and get to the LeBron sweepstakes?
Like, if LeBron can't win a game in the finals, Kyrie's going to get you 3? I don't think so. And finally, Clippers center DeAndre Jordan reportedly wants to join up with Chris Paul again and play for the Rockets.
Oh, God.
According to USA Today, Jordan is frustrated with the Clippers.
Oh, imagine that.
So is everyone that's ever played for them. Now, he's also from Houston. He has a big I feel like it's like an Astros-looking logo on his arm.
Yeah.
But the Rockets already have Clint Capella.
Well, again, I would take DeAndre Jordan. If it was the same dollar figure, I'd take DeAndre Jordan.
And Capella, I believe, is a restricted free agent. Now, they're obviously not going to make a move on him until they know what's happening with LeBron.
Tui, you're from Houston. Yes. What is the feeling about Clint Capella? I mean, I think he can be completely marginalized in the playoffs.
How about I'll just tell you this. During the playoffs, the owner said Clint Capella has just cost me a lot of money, which means they're going to do everything they can to match any offer they get for him to keep him. So they're not going to let him go.
What did the owner say?
He said, when it was after one of Capella's really good games, he said, Capella just cost me a lot of money tonight, which means he's going to have to pay to keep him.
Because some team is going to make a big offer for
I would
Capella.
take DeAndre Jordan in a heartbeat over Clint Capella.
But don't you already know that Chris Paul doesn't like him?
I don't know.
They've already been down that road.
Do all these guys have to be best friends? Well, Kyrie and LeBron won a title. They weren't best friends.
Yeah.
Veteran newsman John Goulet.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Live from Cleveland, Game 4 tonight, San Jose Mercury News. Our friend Mark Medina used to cover the Lakers, now the Warriors. You were at shoot-around. Good God, how do you create urgency if you're Steve Kerr tonight, Mark?
Yeah, it's a really good question, a tough question, because the Warriors haven't done a good job in creating urgency. When you look at the playoffs, they've always had that one game where they just wet bed, whether it was Game 4 against San Antonio in the first round after being up 3-0, Game 3 against New Orleans in the second round after being up 2-0. You know, a weird thing to the Rockets obviously push it to a 7-game series, but after the Warriors just exerted their dominance in Game 1, they kind of showed that regular season complacency again in Game 2. So I think the idea here is they just want to get the season over with. It's already been kind of taxing enough with going through 4 consecutive finals, so why extend it even more? And I don't think the Warriors will admit it, but I think there is some extra satisfaction if they can end this in Cleveland in what could potentially be LeBron's last game.
It's interesting. I'm just thinking about this. Since Kevin Durant has joined the Warriors, here's what the playoff series have been. Sweep, 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 win in 5, win in 5, win in 5, 7 sweep if they win tonight. You look at the Houston series. P.J. Tucker pushed them around. They led. Houston did 3-2 before Chris Paul. If we feel they're going to wrap this thing up, do you think this will be the same team next year? Are they going to make any moves? Do they need to react? Because I had Chris Bosh on yesterday, Mark, and he said, after D. Wade, LeBron, and I won the second title, he goes, we arrived in training camp the next year, and we were like, damn, that was a quick off season. I do believe we saw a little fracture this year. Warriors lost by 40 a couple times, 30 a couple times, 20 multiple times. I think next year, the regular season, they could add a piece, switch things up, add a lively player. Do you think there'll be big moves after this finals?
I don't think big moves, but there's going to be a lot of moves. Here's why. A lot of the Warriors free agents this year are coming off the bench. And that was their biggest weakness this season. I think when you looked at Andre Iguodala's absence during the Houston series, there's a lot of people within the Warriors that think that the series would have been over in 5 games if Andre hadn't gotten hurt. And the reason for that is he was a bridge between the 4 All-Stars and a bench that frankly didn't have a lot of identity. And part of that was, Steve Kerr wanted to be able to chase matchups and have different lineup combinations, but a lot of it also had to do with just the lack of consistent talent. So they're going to keep the 4 All-Stars. There's no debate about that. But it's going to be how do they upgrade the bench to give themselves more depth, allow them more wiggle room to give the All-Stars, opportunities to rest. But to what degree that will be significant, here's what they're looking at here. They have a $5.2 million mid-level exception they can use, a biannual exception at $3.3 million, and then the rest minimum deals. So it's not like it's going to be any kind of game changer, but I think it's still significant in helping the engine moving and helping those 4 All-Stars stay fresh.
Oh, you were at shoot-around this morning. Was it just kind of business-like?
Yeah, very business-like. It was interesting seeing Steph Curry. He was sitting underneath the basket after doing his morning workout routine, and he seemed in a really reflective state of mind. And we weren't talking to him, and I don't want to be armchair psychologist, but it seemed like they're all kind of in this mode right now where they see this could be it, and they can't squander it. Now, obviously, they have margin for error. If they do lose, it's the end of the world. They can wrap this up Game 5 on Monday. But I think that because of what we saw in Game 3, where Kevin Durant had the 43-point night, and it just really exposed that even if Cleveland comes out in a blade of glory and LeBron's being LeBron, the Warriors' talent disparity is just so much. I wonder, will those kind of good feelings kind of enter into Game 4? And then Colin, you look into the fact that Steph Curry, Klay Thompson did not shoot the ball well at all in Game 3, and that didn't really matter. So I think in a kind of when you're microanalyzing it, I think those guys kind of like, hey, I want to get my shot back up. And usually what happens is when Klay and Steph don't have their shot going, they basically be their normal selves the following game.
Yeah, at this point, I think there's emotional fatigue or an injury. Steve Kerr's going to come back. I think he's really smart. I guess Joe Lacob's son, maybe there could be some dysfunction in the front office if his son has too much power over the course of the next year and Bob Myers feels threatened. The thing feels like it's rolling for another year. We never talk about Steve Kerr in this, which is all about the players. But if you look at most dynasties, Popovich and Riley, Phil Jackson. I mean, we love to give football coaches love. We never give NBA coaches love. Red Auerbach, Chuck Daly. These things, we don't talk about Kerr. But God, he's smart. I mean, I think this is a harder team. I thought they were bored out of their mind for big portions of the regular season. You covered them. I mean, does Kerr get enough credit, you think?
It's all relative. I mean, he has a lot of talent. I think he's falling under what Phil Jackson used to fall under, where, the gut reaction as well. It's really nice and easy to coach a team when you have future Hall of Famers. And there's no debate about it. You need to have talent to win in the NBA for any professional sports. But where Steve Kerr goes into play is he's really been able to kind of manage the Stars. To the Stars' credit, there's not a lot of, rivals or ego on the team. I mean, they know who they are, and they have a good dose of healthy arrogance, but there's not much of that, fight for pecking order. Tonight's my night to have my shots. They don't really have that. A lot of any adjustments or adversities they went through, it all was either tactical, X's and O's, which is kind of boring, and then to what you were saying, they're just kind of fried. So with Steve Kerr, he really leaned on what he went through with the 97-90 Bulls team.
Yeah.
Where it's a little apples and oranges. Like, everyone knew at that point that was the end of the Bulls' run because of the issues with Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson and all the guys, MJ and Scottie Pippen. Like, they're at the end of their career. But it was still the same idea that they had gone to the finals for 3 straight runs. Like, how do you stimulate a team that's so used to winning in pressure-packed moments? And Steve's talked to me about that basically was his guiding force this season, and not overreacting to when the teams wet the bed. And the only time he really snapped was toward the end of the season, because they were continuing to do that. And he thought at that point, this isn't good when you're entering the playoffs. You need to be at your peak. But he was saying, if I snapped throughout the season like that, they basically would have stopped listening to me.
Right.
So he knew it was in his best interest to kind of pick his spots a little bit.
Live from Cleveland, Game 4 tonight, Mark Medina. We just think he does a great job. Mark, when you're in L.A., and it's a nice place, you should show up once in a while. It's 74 today. Stop by. We'll put you on the couch. We'd love to talk to you again.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'll be in L.A. at some point this summer, so we'll figure it out.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Hey, thank you so much.
Coming up next, sounded like a great idea. It may not be with Tom Brady. This story, and it's not a small one, coming up. Don't be that guy in the room with the long, sloppy-looking untucked shirt. Untucked shirts made to fall to perfect length. Untuckit.com, code HERD, 20% off. HERD. I don't even take phone calls anymore. When's the last time I had a phone call on the show? We're on radio only today. Occasionally I sprinkle in a phone call when it's radio only. I thought this story was interesting. The Patriots' Julian Edelman was banned for the first month for violating the PED policy. The unspoken part of this is that Julian Edelman is a Tom Brady client, TB12 client. Translation, Julian Edelman is an Alex Guerrero client. Translation, that's what Belichick, that's why he got him off the sidelines and off the plane. This has been a point of contention. All this noise around New England did not start with Malcolm Butler being yanked in the Super Bowl. It started 3 months earlier when Belichick booted Alex Guerrero, Tom's personal trainer, off the plane and off the sidelines. That was the first controversy with New England. Now, it didn't affect them. They got to the Super Bowl, but that was the first noise we'd heard out of New England in 18 years. So Guerrero now, knowing that Julian Edelman is a client of his, a lot of people are saying, oh, I thought Alex Guerrero had all the answers. Tom Brady looks 12 years old. What are they doing over there? He said, I've known Julian since his rookie year. Phenomenal athlete. It's disappointing to hear today's news, said Alex Guerrero. Elite athletes sometimes work with multiple coaches, multiple health professionals as part of their training. Here at our facility, we take a natural, holistic approach. Legal approach to training, he says, and recovery for all of our clients. And anybody who would suggest otherwise is irresponsible and just plain wrong. Okay, all right. But let me ask you. Tom Brady wanted to do this TB12 clinic, right? And Belichick pushed back. It's going to cause some strife. Well, ask yourself, doesn't Tom now have to answer some questions on this? Doesn't this create a little bit of a fissure between Belichick, who's saying, I told you so, and Brady, who is saying, Guerrero's legitimate? If you think I'm wrong and I'm overstating this, ask yourself this. In the next month, what would happen if one more Patriot using the TB12 clinic was caught using PEDs? We'd have ourselves a major problem. we'd have ourselves a major problem. The downside to Tom Brady having this cool clinic, Tom's now responsible in some level for this. He's got to at least address it, doesn't he? Now, I understand Brady's thinking, hey, the TB12 clinic, it's business. This is great for my brand, but it does add a layer of headaches, does it not? Just ask yourself. Tomorrow, Gronk comes out, PEDs. 2 stars, TB12 clinic. Busted, violating. Ethical questions, TB12. Tom's in the middle of it. Now, I was never a fan of Alex Guerrero encroaching on Belichick's territory, mostly because the Belichick thing was working. But I understand pro athletes. You know, I get it. Their body's a temple. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. But when this story comes out, this is what Belichick was worried about. If this stuff happens, I can't keep it in-house. And now I've got to talk about it. And now I've got to address it. And now my quarterback's got to address it. This is what New England avoided. You know, I've always had this. There's an old saying that the NFL is just a bunch of frustrated basketball players. That of all the athletes, baseball, because they have 10-year deals, get the richest. Basketballs have the most power. They can get coaches fired. Football's the most popular sport, but their athletes can be cut. They make the least money, despite the fact they get hurt a lot, and it's easily the most popular league. And I think Brady looks around, and I've sensed this before from NFL people. You start looking around, and you're Tom Brady, and you're like, how do average NBA guys have these huge brands? I got to start building my brand. And I think it's, you know, Odell Beckham now is like, what about my shoes? And we've never really had this before. Like, players sort of got in line. Weren't a lot of endorsements 15 years ago for NFL guys, and then, you know, Peyton Manning and Favre started getting, but you're seeing a little bit of the NBA-ization of sports and brands move into the NFL. And I think, you know, I get it. It's just going to be different because the culture of the NFL has always been team, shield, coach, you know, concentrate, OTAs, camps, the season never ends. In basketball, it's about elevating the star, giving him a shoe deal. You know, it's different. Like the basketball player runs the league. The NFL is run by coaches, GMs, owners, the shield, the league, the commissioner. And so Brady's like, yeah, I want to empower my brand. But this is the concern with it. Now you got a brand, guy busted, you get defensive, you got to address it. You know, I just think this is the world we live in right now with sports. And so Tom now wakes up this morning and, oh, crap. And you can say it's not a big deal, but just ask yourself. Just ask yourself. Gronk tomorrow, PEDs. Coupled with Edelman PED, Guerrero client, that is a horrible look for Brady, and he's got himself in the middle of a tsunami. Because we already think, you know, those Patriots over there, they're already pushing the envelope, deflate gate, you know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If Gronk got busted PEDs, if you look at Deflategate Brady, a couple of guys at his clinic get busted, is it good for Brady's brand? I mean, honestly, ask your, and I'm a Brady guy, but if one more guy gets busted at his clinic, don't all of us go, Tom looks a little young for 40. Edelman busted, Deflategate, bald size issue, somebody else busted. This TB12 clinic is not necessarily great for Brady's brand. I think he thinks it is. All it takes is one more guy to get busted, and Tom could look a little skeevy. Guerrero can deny it, but it would look skeevy. You throw in Deflategate, you throw in Edelman, one more guy gets a PED bust out of that clinic. That ain't good. Car shopping's confusing, a lot of different terms. True Car's not confusing. Shows you what other people paid for the car you want, so you recognize a good price. New or used, go to TrueCar.com and check out while you're there. True Price by True Car. Ric Bucher on the other end, 2 down and 1 to go on a Friday. Tonight, Game 4 of the finals should get wrapped up. Warriors in a sweep. It's the Herd. This is The Herd, hour number 3. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Ric Bucher in 5 minutes. Great to have you in. So tonight the Warriors will wrap it up. I know a lot of you people are freaking out. Get a hold of yourselves. This parody thing in the NBA is a myth. Parody in sports is a myth. I'm just going to read that. This is funny. 1999 to 2014. Here's who represented the West in the NBA Finals. 15-year period. Spurs, Lakers, 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 Spurs, Lakers, Spurs. So the first, this is great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First 7 years, it was 2 teams. Then Mavericks, and then the next 4 years, Spurs, Lakers, Lakers, Lakers. Then Mavericks, Thunder, Spurs, Spurs, and now Warriors, 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 Warriors. And no parody. It's a myth, baby. By the way, Oklahoma City could be here, but they screwed it up. They had Harden. They had Westbrook, and they had Kevin Durant. They screwed it up. They got rid of Harden, should have traded Westbrook. Harden was a better shooter than Westbrook even when they first started playing together. The league was moving into a 3-ball league. Westbrook's never been a great shooter. Wasn't at UCLA, wasn't in high school, wasn't at AAU, isn't now. You chose the wrong guy. You could be Golden State. You'll find that most of these dynasties, everybody's always like, ooh, dynasties. Tom Brady, New England dynasty. What was he drafted? 6th round. Everybody else could have had Tom Brady. You didn't take him. Gronk wasn't a number 1 pick. Edelman wasn't a number 1 pick. The Cleveland Browns had fired Belichick. Kobe wasn't a number 1 pick. They had to make a trade with a lot of pieces to get Shaq. So Klay Thompson was an 11th pick, Steph a 7th, Draymond 2nd round. The cake, they'd already won a title. The cake was made. Kevin Durant was the icing. And all cakes are better with icing. I'm not denying that. But the cake was made. If you go to the AFC starting Super Bowl quarterback since 2001, here's the quarterback that represents the AFC in the Super Bowl in the last 17 years. Brady Gannon, Brady, Ben Manning, that being Peyton, Brady, Big Ben, Peyton, Ben, Brady, Flacco, Peyton, Brady, Peyton, Tom. 15 to 17 years. It's Tom, it's Peyton, or it's Big Ben. In horse racing, Bob Baffert has a horse this weekend going for the Triple Crown. Of course he does. Bob Baffert always has a horse going for a Triple Crown. Federer, Serena. Roger Penske team just won their 17th Indy 500. College football, Bama's number 1 preseason. Clemson's number 2. What a shock. Ohio State's favored to win the Big Ten again. Ooh, pinch me. Tell me it's real. There's no parity in this stuff, and the reason's simple. There's very few great anything. There's very few great attorneys. You ever notice in Los Angeles or New York when you have a celebrity attorney, all the celebrities are represented by like 2 attorneys. There's 25,000 attorneys in Los Angeles. There's 4 that are constantly on television. You ever notice that? There's not many, I have no problem whatsoever with Kevin Durant, the Golden State. The cake was made. Now, again, the icing makes the cake better. I'm not denying that. But, I do think after they win tonight, I think next year, and I think we saw some of the fatigue last year, Chris Bosh yesterday on the show, and I asked him, if fatigue set in right after they won their 2nd title in Miami.
No. Right after, no. I think you sense the fatigue when you come in the next season. Emotionally, that Spurs series that we had to win that championship was emotionally draining for everybody, for family, fans.
For fans.
You know what I mean? It was just like there was a certain sense of relief when it was over because it was such a tense moment. Anybody that's been to the finals, that turnaround is quick.
Yeah, and so Chris Bosh confirmed yesterday that after the Miami Heat, Wade, LeBron, and Bosh won their 2nd. This is what the Warriors are going to do. Win their 2nd, because this is a dynasty. The first title with Steph and out KD was not a dynasty. Love and Kyrie got hurt. It was a title. They wouldn't have formed a dynasty without KD. Now it's a dynasty. Now they're crushing people. I mean, good God, here's their series the last 2 years with Kevin Durant. Sweep, 5. 5-5-7. This will be a sweep. Okay, that's a dynasty. Michael Jordan never went to a Game 7. The first title was Steph and Klay and Draymond. That was good, but the next year they lost, and I think they would have lost that year if Kyrie, Love, and LeBron, if Kyrie and Love were healthy. They took them 6 with Matthew Dellavedova being a big deal. So I think fatigue, I really do, and I've said this all year long. I think the Warriors were going to win this year. I think there's a real chance Boston faces Golden State next year and is a disruptor. I just think it's hard, man. We see baseball teams. They go on a long playoff run. You ask your starters to have 4 or 5 more quality playoff starts. They're not the same team in spring training. Ric Bucher's joining us. You know Rick, Bleacher Report senior reporter, Sirius XM NBA guy. I've made this prediction all year. It's not the physical, it's the mental. Now, I could say Curry's been injured, but you start adding 20 games on, Rick, and 20 games of intense playoff stuff, and the room changes, the temperature changes. Everybody's got a new deal. Everybody's got a TV show. I think by next year, you're going to see real cracks. Or do you think we saw some this year?
Without question, we saw some this year. There were times where throughout the year, I kept thinking, when am I going to see the Warriors? I know how well they can play. When am I going to see it, and when am I going to see it for a sustained period of time? And you don't win championships, and you don't have the chemistry that this team has without character. So it's not a team of guys who look at it and are so arrogant that, well, we're just not going to play tonight. We're just going to let it go. No, they've measured all year long what we have in the tank and how do we best utilize it. And anytime they're thinking, hey, you know what, this is not important right now, they go into eco drive. They've got the hybrid. Let's go to the electric because we've only got so much gas. And so I think you're only going to see more of that. And to your point, it's true. It's not just, TV shows or whatever. It's commercials. It's all the ancillary things that you get to do as a result of being a champion. I mean, how many commercials did Draymond Green have? And he quietly has not been the same guy. He's been a level below what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
So I go across the board, and that's just, look, Klay Thompson's getting hurt. The Iron Man of all Iron Men is getting hurt. And sometimes the physical injuries are a result of the mental fatigue. No, you're a step slow. You do everything kind of haphazardly. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ric Bucher joining us. We've also had since 2000 4 dynasties. Lakers have had a couple. Miami Wade felt like one, and this is a dynasty. So, when people freak out about it, I'm like, folks, I've been watching like you, Rick. You've probably been watching for 3 decades. I'm older. I've been watching for 4. These dynasties, I couldn't tell you the last dynasty that lasted longer than I thought it would. They all last shorter. It's a matter of this one may last. I think they got one more year before there's real fatigue. I will say this, though. I thought this was interesting. So LeBron yesterday had a press conference, and he was jovial, and he was fun, and he was loose, and he was funny. And it was almost like, Rick, I'm going to throw this at you. I'm not trying to be Dr. Phil here.
Yeah.
He was...
or Mark Schwartz.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he kind of was relieved. It's like... It was almost watching LeBron yesterday. It was almost like, listen, man, I gave you everything. I took you to 4 straight finals. I got my hometown a title. Man, I moved into mogul stage now, man. I got everybody coming after me. I don't know. I kind of feel like LeBron is okay where he's at. You're never going to say he's MJ. And now he's like, I'm all good, man. I'm losing to a dynasty. He really felt yesterday. He was very glib and funny and reflective. And I'm like, he knows he's gone. That's what it felt like to me.
My kids are just wrapping up school. And all the hard work is already done. They're still in school technically, but it feels like it's summer vacation already. That's the vibe that I get from LeBron. And this is the distinction. I agree with you. It is, he's turned a page mentally without question. That game 3 was the first quarter was the last great push. It didn't happen, so now it's okay, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
But I will say, all of this, Colin, is really odd to me because the series is not over. I know we on the outside all think it's over, but I can't remember the last. I mean, they're not even faking it right now. We got Kevin Love up there talking about this, boy, do we miss Kyrie Irving. We got some anonymous veteran Cavs saying, if we had Kyrie Irving, we'd be up 3-0. And I have to tell you, for that to me speaks volumes about how these guys right now are looking at LeBron James. I've never heard so much conversation because there's only one outlet out there that believes that LeBron James, that Kyrie didn't leave because of LeBron James. Kyrie's not there because of LeBron James. And so to have all of these guys going, you know what? It'd be really different if that guy was here. To me, that is a referendum by the rest of the Cavs right now, or at least who we've heard from about what went down with Kyrie and LeBron.
You know, I was thinking about this. I have this belief, this theory, that there are 3 stages for the all-timers. And I'm talking Elon Musk, I'm talking Zuckerberg, I'm talking Michael Jordan, Brady, all of them. Jay-Z, all of them. There is the first stage, which is, I'm going to show off. Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to show off. Then there is the Phil Jackson tells Michael Jordan, okay, you scored 63, but we lost the game. Let's get some titles. So then there is the Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm super talented. Oh, you know what? I'm not unless
Let me get an Oscar.
Yeah. Okay. Now I got to win an Oscar. So he does Remnant, where he gets eaten by a bear and doesn't talk, and he wins.
Right.
Then the third stage is, okay, it's not all about winning now. I'm going to do, I'm a mogul. So Michael Jordan's third stage was, hell, I'm going to go play for the Wizards. I'm not going to win titles. Michael did it. Michael had the rings, and he's like, okay, now I'm moving into more. So here's my theory on LeBron. Nobody's going to let him ever beat Michael because of that one column. 6 for 6, 3 for 6, right? 3 and 6.
Right.
So LeBron's like, okay, I'm not going to surpass him in the eye, even though my stats are. I'm going to do a mogul move. I'm going to L.A. Lifestyle, happiness, brand, magic, movies, entertainment, my pizza chain. Like if he goes to Houston, maybe he wins one title. But Chris Paul's getting old. They'll have no bench, a ton of pressure. You win or you're a bum. I feel like it's really leaning heavy L.A. for LeBron. He's moved into the mogul stage.
I've said it since the beginning of the year when people around the league were telling me that they were convinced he was gone and L.A. was in the clubhouse, the leader in the clubhouse. And to me, L.A. makes sense on both fronts. Number one, he's never gone. Think about what has happened when he's left Cleveland. He's never gone to a franchise that they weren't able to structure around him, that there were pieces already in place that he had to fit with, or Kyrie Irving obviously was in Cleveland, but that fit with him. They had a draft pick. They had Andrew Wiggins. No, you know what? Let's flip that for Kevin Love. Let's get pieces to build around LeBron James. If he goes to Houston or Philadelphia, he's going to places that are already built, and on some level, he's going to have to accommodate to them.
Yes.
He goes to L.A., now it's, as Magic has already said, everybody's available. It's a yard sale. And the subliminal is, LeBron, you come here, we build around you. So there's 2 advantages to going to LA. 3. 1, it's an open, it's a clean sheet. It's a blank canvas.
Yeah.
You can build around LeBron. 2, if he goes there and they build something and lo and behold, they find their way and they win a championship, well, now he's won championships with 3 different franchises.
Yeah.
And that's something that no one else has ever done. And yes, he could do it in Houston, he could do it in Philly, but you don't have the first option where it's built around you. And then the third is exactly as you said. He has told us, I don't have anything else to prove.
Yes.
So why not, if you're going to, at this point, and this is the same thing, Colin, you get to a certain point in your career, it's like, when I started out, I'm sure when you started out, you were willing to go wherever you had to go to get your foot in the door, to establish yourself, to build that career. And then you get to a certain point and you go, I kind of like where I live.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to go to Tuscaloosa. And there might be a great job there. That's not where I'm looking right now. LeBron can shape his universe however he sees fit. Why wouldn't he do it? And for everything that he has now and moving forward, L.A. makes a world of sense.
Yeah, it really does. I was talking earlier, Ric Bucher, Bleacher Report senior writer, Sirius XM NBA host. I listened to his show regularly yesterday. In fact, when I'm coming home from the gym, Bucher's on my he's on my radio, satellite radio. So I was talking about this, earlier, is that Steve Kerr, we love to give football coaches love. Belichick, Parcells, Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll, genius. We never. Phil Jackson's got one NBA Coach of the Year. It's all about the players. But look at the greatest teams. Oh, Phil Jackson. Oh, Phil Jackson. Oh, Red Auerbach. Oh, Popovich. We don't. It's such a star-driven league. We can't wait to tell everybody that Nick Saban's a genius. But Calipari, it's all about the players. Steve Kerr, we got to give him a little love here, right, man? This is a lot of ego and he's dealing with social media. Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach. I always told, when I interviewed Barack Obama once, I said, you're the first president to deal with the vulgarity and the vile nature of this sewer called Twitter. It is something. I think it's made the country more anxious and more angry. We gotta give Steve Kerr some love here, don't we?
What I found funny is when you look at the last couple of championships, when Steve, brought it together, he was a genius. And then Ty Lue won a championship, and he got something out of Dante Jones and Mo Williams coming off the bench, and he was a genius. And Steve Kerr was an idiot for playing Festus Ezeli, who got torched by LeBron James on a couple of possessions. And then it's flip-flopped, and now JaVale McGee gives you a couple quality minutes, and Steve Kerr is a genius again. You're 100% right, and I think both of these guys. When Ty Lue says this is the toughest job, coaching LeBron James and the expectations that come with it, and having one hand, you're not really running the show, but you're responsible if it goes wrong. If it goes great, it's to his credit. And when I look at all that Steve has done, and under below the surface on all of this is the fact that he has been dealing with migraine headaches and a physical pain over the last 2+3 years that it's touch and go as to whether he's going to do the job or not. And think about doing your job. Imagine your back is killing you. You've got headaches, and you're trying to do a radio show and keep one thought to the next succinct. He's got to coach games under that pressure, often feeling that way. And here's the thing, and this goes with the Warriors and the sort of circles us back to the beginning. The only thing that you can do is disappoint. When you're coaching the Warriors, when you're playing for the Warriors, the only thing you can do is fail. If you win, that's what you were supposed to do. And that in and of itself, you look at the Capitals winning and the joy that they got from that and the release and everything.
Yes, the release, yes.
The Warriors are going to be just relieved. Oh, fine. We did what everybody said we were supposed to do. There's no, I guarantee you, there'll be a certain amount of joy, but there's going to be a greater amount of, we didn't screw it up. And Steve Kerr is at the head of the line in figuring out how not to screw it up. And I'm with you 1,000%. There's nothing that bothers me more than Joe Friday out there who says, well, I could coach this team to a championship. Dude, you wouldn't even get out of the first week before they'd eat you alive. It's not only knowing what to do, but every one of these guys has an idea and a belief, and you got to convince them, no, all of you, put your notebooks down. We're going by this right here.
Yeah.
And you got to do it all year long, and you got to do it for 4 straight years. Good luck. Oh, and by the way, they all make a ton more money and are more valuable to the franchise than you are in name recognition. Bill Belichick doesn't face that. Dude, you're out of line. You're gone. Steve Kerr doesn't have that wherewithal, and yet he's made it happen.
Yeah, I always felt Joe Torre had been fired 3 times. He went to the Yankees. He didn't suddenly become a baseball savant. He was great dealing with all the egos. You have to be. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there is a difference. There's a difference between just coaching players and coaching egos. Is an entire. You got to know the game. And then you have to know people. And some people know one, some people know the other. Steve Kerr quite clearly knows both. Ric Bucher. Anything else you want to sell? You got anything? Where else? You're on Sirius XM?
No, yeah, it's the time of the year. I'm just glad that I'm writing Bleacher Report. I had fun. I talked to 7 guys who played in the Cavs Warriors 1, 2, and 3, and where they were watching and how they were watching. It's on my Twitter feed. It wasn't up very long because we had a lot of other news happening, but I love the idea that there are these guys that have these rings. They've been on the floor or involved in the thing that we're watching, and now they're in sports bars. They're on their grandma's, they're on their mom's couch. They're at home with their boys. They're like out among us watching this thing that they once participated in and have very either high emotional connections to it, or they're just Joe fan kicking back and enjoying that they not have to be a part of it right now. But it was a fun read. Go check it out.
Thanks, buddy.
You got it, Colin.
Ric Bucher. By the way, he was making that point about imagine if I had a bad back or a headache to deal with. I do. It's named John Goulet. How do I overcome it? It's incredible by me. Greg Toohey and I have to deal with Goulet. That is one headache. All right. Man, this week's flying by. Mike Missanelli, Mark Medina, Ric Bucher today. I listen to Bukes every day driving around. Every day I get to go to the gym, come home, and there's Bukes filling me in on NBA stuff. He's a surfer. San Francisco water is a lot colder than L.A. water. He's up there surfing on the North Shore. I just got sent something very interesting by Jeff Friedman. A study just came out since pro gambling has been legalized in America, 7-2 vote Supreme Court. This is really interesting. I'm going to just read you some of the stats. 42% of those who watch sports programming wager on games. If sports gambling were legalized, 79% said they would watch more sports. If you want to know why Fox and ESPN want legalized gambling, I've wanted it forever. But if you don't want to know why, because you'd watch more of us. When it comes, okay, here it goes. If legalized, which of the following sports would you bet on? 77% NFL. Next closest is the NBA, less than half of that. Okay, 39%. So for all of you saying the NFL's dying, 2-1, over 2-1, people want to bet the NFL, say they would watch more NFL if they could bet on it. The winner in this gambling, the NBA is saying we think it helps us, but the winner once again is the NFL. Don't kid yourself. Right now we're talking NBA. My show's become 7.5 months of the NFL and 2.5 months, maybe 3 months of NBA, and then a month and a half of skiing. That's not till February and March. So that's the really, really interesting. Basically, about half the people now bet on sports, and 80% say they'd bet more if it was legal in their area. And the big winner would be the NFL, of course. By the way, so this is a delicious story. I've got something that's unbelievable. If you're driving around listening to me, you cannot turn the dial. But first, veteran newsman, John Goulet.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
It's a hell of a tease right there. I kind of want to just blow through this update and get to that.
I kind of want you to, too. This is fascinating.
Don't worry, it'll be quick. One of them's hockey. The Capitals won Game 5 of the Stanley Cup last night, which means Alex Ovechkin is no longer the Dan Marino of the NHL. He finally won a title.
Awesome.
They won 4-3. I actually watched some of it. I don't know if you watched much. It's a pretty exciting game.
Yeah.
Hell of a season for the Vegas Golden Knights. An expansion team makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Listen, Ovechkin's the best player in hockey. It was like LeBron's first title. It's like, okay, let's get this guy a title. His legs are tree trunks.
He won the Conn Smythe as well, which is like the best player in all of the playoffs.
Yeah, hockey does something better than all the other sports. They name a MVP of the playoffs.
College basketball, too. They're the two sports that do this.
Yes, and in NBA, the finals MVP, it's just, we get into these dumb arguments. KD's better than LeBron. No, he's not. Stop.
This is Washington's first title since the Redskins in 92, I believe. So they've been kind of going through a drought as a city. The last time we saw Rockets forward Trevor Ariza, he was having a nice 0 for 12 game in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals for the Rockets against the Warriors. Well, the next time we'll see him, he may be in a Warriors uniform. ESPN's Chris Haynes is saying that he's a name that he keeps hearing as a potential addition to the Warriors next season, and supposedly Ariza is willing to take a pay cut to do it. Now, remember, we had Mark Medina on, who was explaining how they have a couple of those mid-level exceptions.
$5.3 million.
They could pay him $5 million, which is not what he's worth. He's worth more than that because he can shoot threes, except in that series, and he can play defense. Could you see a guy like him joining the?
God, yeah, he's perfect. Smart kid, works hard, keeps his head down,
and now he's your other. Now you have two wing guys that can pass that are veterans with him and Iguodala to come off the bench.
And to me, he is just an automatic no-brainer fit.
Would you do that, though, if you're Ariza? Would you leave the Rockets for less money to go to the Warriors? Remember, he has a title. He won one with the Lakers.
Yeah, I think he's a California kid, isn't he? Yeah, he's an LA kid. I totally get it. Yeah. UCLA kid.
And finally, I know you'll like this. Bovada has put out some over-under win totals for college football teams.
Oh, give me a couple. Oh, I love this. This is my favorite thing of the year.
I know you love that.
I'm
sure we'll
this.
deep dive into it next week.
I have no life after this show. I'm literally going to go grab Phil Steele's book.
So here's what's funny. There are 4 teams with the highest overall win totals.
Let me guess.
Sure, go ahead.
Bama's a no-brainer.
Of course, 10.5.
Clemson.
Nope.
Georgia.
Yep, 10.5 also.
Ohio State.
Nope, they are down at 9.5.
Jesus. So Bama,
Georgia. There's 2 more at 10.5. Maybe think weaker conferences.
Washington.
Yep.
Wow.
10.5. There's one more.
Well, the middle and bottom of the Pac-12 right now is awful.
Right.
One more. That's Miami?
No.
What?
Oklahoma.
Are they
apparently not reeling after the loss of Baker Mayfield?
By the way, where's USC at?
USC is at 8.5, as is Notre Dame. Here's something I found interesting. Big Ten stacked.
It's now that Scott Frost is at Nebraska?
Well, just for teams at the top. Here's what they have. They have Wisconsin at 10. Ohio State and Penn State both at 9.5, and then Michigan State and Michigan at 9. Yeah, so that's 5 teams they could see winning.
And by the way,
conference.
give Scott Frost 12 months,
sure,
and watch them be in the 8.5 territory. Scott Frost, Nebraska's not winning any more titles, but he'll do the bet. He'll get Nebraska to as good as they can be in 2018. He'll get them to 10-2.
By the way, you want to hear one that really stood out to me?
What?
What do you think UCLA's is now with Chip Kelly?
6.
5.
They don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, but with Chip Kelly, he'll find. I'm sure he can find someone that can run. I thought that was low. I thought that for a Chip Kelly team.
Let me tell you something. 5 in the
Pac-12
is 1.5 in the SEC. It's 1 in the Big Ten. That tells you they don't have many players.
Right.
A veteran newsman, John Goulet.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie
God,
News.
this story is delicious. This next story is delicious. New York Times, Mark Stein, guy I know well. After Woj, he breaks as many stories as anybody in the NBA. Number 1, LeBron does not feel like he owes Cleveland anything. He will have no problem leaving. Number 2, fixate on Chris Paul. If he re-signs with Houston, LeBron and Houston is the leader in the clubhouse. However, the Lakers have room for 2 max contracts. Paul and LeBron are super, super close. LeBron may try to talk him in to coming back and living in Los Angeles, where Chris Paul wants to retire and live. Number 3, If that doesn't work, LeBron will get on the phone with Kevin Durant and potentially team up with him too. That is delicious. That is an appetizer on a Friday before you go to lunch. So number one, LeBron doesn't feel he owes Cleveland anything. 4 championship runs, 1 title. 2, fixate on Chris Paul. If he signs with Houston, they'll be the leader in the clubhouse. But LeBron would probably try to talk him into go to Los Angeles. 2 max, it's where you actually want to live. You don't want to live in Houston. You want to live in Los Angeles. You loved it here. And third, LeBron will get on the phone with KD if that doesn't work out. God. That's better than the season.
Hold on. So, so Chris Paul, though, just put his huge house in Calabasas on the market and just bought and renovated a huge house in Houston.
Well, you can't buy another home in Los Angeles?
Well, I mean, why would you sell your house if you're going to come back out?
Chewy's a Rockets fan. He's biased on this. Don't listen to him.
Well, I mean, by the way, he can go back and buy another one, and it's not like there's not for sale signs not all over Calabasas.
So wait, so let me ask you. So let's say Chris Paul says, I'm staying with the Rockets. LeBron to the Rockets, or does he then go Durant and try to get him to go to the Lakers?
Say it again.
If Chris Paul goes to the Rockets, is that LeBron's goal, is to go to the Rockets with him?
No, what it's saying here is in this whole process with LeBron, fixate on Chris Paul. If Paul re-signs with the Rockets, LeBron and he are tight. That gives them the edge. The first thing it says is LeBron doesn't know Cleveland squat. He's going to have no guilt. That's a good thing. He shouldn't. Secondly, and I've been told by somebody who I deeply trust, he's over Cleveland. He's over Dan Gilbert. He's over Kobe Altman. He's over J.R. Smith. Second thing is, this is a new one. Fixate on Chris Paul. Third thing is, he'll call KD. Don't kid yourself. LeBron's not going to whimper into the night his last 4 years in this league.
So what would that mean for Paul George? Does that
you know what it really means? It means Lonzo Ball, pack your bags. You and LiAngelo are going to be in Lithuania. That's what it means to me. That's what it's saying right there is we're not even taking Lonzo Ball. Get off the table. We're not. Listen, I think LeBron looks at it this way. I think this is obvious. He's like, listen, Kuzma could be Paul George. Brandon Ingram could be Paul George. But Lonzo Ball is never going to be Chris Paul. So LeBron's like, I can handle the ball. I can have some of that. But Lonzo Ball's the weakest of these 3 guys. I don't need Paul George. I have Kuzma. I can get him for a nickel. So I can bring Chris Paul is the guard. I'm the 3. Kuzma's the 4. Ingram off the bench or Randall. I think that's what he looks at. I think LeBron's like, we don't need Lonzo in this thing. And trade Lonzo for a 2-guard that can shoot. I don't even want to take a break. I want to stay on the air for the next 2 hours talking about this. God, this is incredible. This is incredible. I'm supposed to do best for last. I can't get over this story. This is absolutely, you just put a steak in front of me and you're telling me not to eat it and I can smell the horseradish and the potato. Yeah, I mean, let's just think how LeBron would think. What would LeBron do? LeBron's sitting there thinking, hell, if I go to LA and get Chris Paul, I got a Hall of Fame point. I'm a Hall of Fame guy. LA's got all these forwards that LeBron may like. LeBron may be like, Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, they're only getting better. Lonzo is disposable. And by the way, you think LeBron wants to deal with LeVar Ball's dad? Get them out of town. By the way, what happened a month ago on a Saturday in the LA Times? That story popped up magically saying, Lonzo's available. That was a message to LeBron. Boy, this is tasty. Mark Stein, New York Times. Car shopping's confusing. Dealer price, list price, invoice. Here's what's not. Go to TrueCar.com. Check out their true price. $3,000 off MSRP potentially. Okay, this is great. New York Times Mark Stein story is saying LeBron owes Cleveland nothing. He's over that. I was told the same thing this week, that LeBron does not feel in any way beholden to Cleveland. He and Dan Gilbert's relationship, I was told, is worse now than the first time he left. I've been told that by a source I absolutely trust that is in the LeBron sphere, that LeBron's done with Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert's more of a pain in the ass now than he was the first time he left, and they have no relationship. That low handshake was not me making stuff up. It's real. LeBron's done with Dan Gilbert. By the way, Monday, Chris Mannix and Chris Broussard stopped by. Here's the second thing. I was sent a text yesterday by somebody that Magic is teasing Jerry West, who now works for the Clippers. We're getting LeBron. So Magic's kind of poking Jerry West in the ribs. Third, the Vegas odds have changed from 4th to 2nd in 2 days. Lakers are now in 2nd place to get LeBron. It's changed in Vegas in 2 days. They're generally ahead of people. Remember, nobody else in the NBA, no other team in the NBA has 2 max slots. The Lakers are it. Other things to remember. A, Magic's always loved LeBron and Chris Paul. Magic loves Chris Paul. Magic loves LeBron. B, this would crush Houston. Everybody's talking about, well, the Lakers, they couldn't get past Golden State. Hell, they couldn't get past Houston. You can end the Houston story right now. Take away Chris Paul. Then Houston has James Harden. Trevor Ariza is a Warrior. Chris Paul's a Laker. You pray you can get Paul George. And number 4, LeBron has said he wants to be off the ball, meaning Chris Paul runs the show. I'm comfortable with it. So Mark Stein's story today is fixate on Chris Paul. Mark Stein and Woj break a lot of stories. Fixate on Chris Paul. So I got to believe when LeBron had that press conference yesterday, it was amazing. He was joking and laughing. He is totally okay. And I'm not comparing myself to LeBron, but I know when my last year at ESPN and I thought I was leaving, and then a month and a half out, I'd come to terms with my current boss, and it was all then about paperwork, and we'd come to an emotional conclusion. I was making the move. It was a great time. I would go home after work and tell my wife I've never felt less pressure. It may have been messy publicly, but I know when you've given somebody everything you've got and you feel like you did your best, there is a relief. I did my best. I'm moving on. I got choices. It's a great feeling. LeBron yesterday is at his press conference. That's the happiest I've ever seen him. I mean, it's just like joking with the press. He feels he doesn't know Cleveland anything. He's got a bunch of options. Don't kid yourself. LeBron's on the phone. LeBron's on the phone. And Chris Paul's his boy. And according to Mark Stein, fixate on Chris Paul. And I really believe this. Man, you got to connect the dots on stuff. I don't believe in like fate and happenstance. No, everything's engineered. Everything. Nobody can keep a secret. Everything's engineered. And when that LA Times story a couple Saturdays ago came out, Lonzo Ball, we would move him. That was a LeBron, we're not fixated here. These are movable parts. We'll do whatever we got to do. Remember, Magic and LeBron are close. Michael and LeBron are not. Michael's tight with Westbrook. Okay, Magic's tight with Chris Paul and LeBron. By the way, Magic also likes Kevin Durant. He's a big Kevin Durant fan. So now the story, Mark Stein, New York Times, that Kevin Durant and LeBron, they could go someplace. There's also a story today, Kyrie Irving, Celtics are worried he would leave. Stephen A.Smith yesterday said LeBron will talk with Danny Ainge in Boston. There's a lot of suitors here. There are a lot of suitors. But I'll tell you this, if you take Chris Paul from Houston, they're done. James Harden ISO ball, it's over. That thing doesn't last. I mean, you saw James Harden the last 2 years. That ISO ball act with Westbrook and Harden, they are worn down. Those are 6'3" guys. They're worn down with that dribble ISO act for 90 games. Nobody else has 2 slots, max slots. Lakers do. And you know what? I don't know. I'm going to say this. I am right now. I told somebody in LeBron's camp, he's got a big camp, about 8 people. I told somebody this week, don't let the media control the narrative here. You control it. I said, you just keep leaking little things to me and, we can just, get ahead of this puppy here. Don't let people just hate LeBron for a month. Let LeBron control the story. Don't wait for 2 months. Make your decision next.